When important negotiations are taking place, there's often a media embargo, a media blackout, and there really should be in the case of the Northern Ireland negotiations. And it's a great shame, I think, that when things were looking very positive before, everything was scuppered by attention on Liz Truss's resignation. And her hands are sort of moving around in sort of puppet-like fashion, and she was wailing about the fact that she'd been misunderstood and hadn't had time, and so on. In fact, she's still saying exactly the same thing, so we didn't even need to hear it first time round. She'll be saying it again and again and again, repeatedly, with perhaps the occasional new hand gesture, because her hand gestures are, of course, famous. She does the up and down gesture, which she's sort of perfected on her own, and now she's got a sweeping, sort of a cutting gesture, as if she's slicing a cake, and then she's got this sort of claw-like gesture. That is the sum of her rhetorical flourishes. However, as I say, really, when important negotiations are taking place, people should stay quiet. But not so Sammy Wilson, clearly. Because Sammy Wilson cannot resist the opportunity to prognosticate. I don't think that's really what he's doing. I think what he's trying to do is throw a spanner in the works. And he does so just as Chris Heaton-Harris and James Cleverly are about to get onto the Zoom link or whatever they're using to have a video conversation with Maroš Šefčovič in the EU. And this DUP MP from Northern Ireland, Sammy Wilson, briefs the press at that moment to say that no deal will be forthcoming this week. Well, it's not quite what Sunak says. Sunak says that there's no deal yet, but there's good progress. What Sammy Wilson does is scuppering the momentum that had built up last week when even his leader was saying that everything was looking very positive. And it's much harder to hold together the public and politicians without that sort of momentum, without that push forward. If it looks inevitable, it's easier to sell, and politicians are going to have to get behind whatever deal is agreed in Europe. Politicians are going to have to get behind whatever deal is agreed in Northern Ireland. If it looks uncertain, it will be much harder. Michael Martin says that it's time to stop all this power play altogether. It's time to put all that to one side and to think instead of the people of Northern Ireland. These people have been without an assembly for so long, probably forgotten what basic political procedure is, and people, ordinary people, are suffering. You know, it's an astonishing indulgence for political parties like the DUP to be elected and then not to take their seats. An astonishing indulgence.